Hey guys, hello RecTechie fans. I'm Chris Russell from RecTech Media. Good to see you all here today. Today's show is how it works, Google for Jobs and the Facebook job board. So I'm looking forward to talking to you today about this. It's kind of a jam-packed show, got a lot of information for you. I'm going to move pretty quickly. But today's show is also sponsored by my friends over at CareerSite Cloud. Mike Woodrow, and he'll actually join us later on for about 5 minutes, just talking about how his product works with Google for Jobs, and we'll get a few updates from him. So today we're going to kind of do a deep dive into the world of free traffic, free job traffic, right? Because let's face it, that's a commodity that is dwindling these days. Indeed's cracking down on staffing firms, and they're organic. They've long hit job boards long ago with that. And so there's really only a few ways now to get free traffic. And primarily those two ways are Google and Facebook. So we'll dive into the Facebook job board itself. I'll show you a demo of kind of how you use it, how you post jobs, how you manage candidates. They have a couple updates as well, which I'll go over. And then we'll go into Google Jobs itself in terms of how to get on there. There are some third-party tools to help you with that. We'll talk about analytics in terms of kind of the traffic you can get out of Google Jobs. So definitely a jam-packed show today, and probably the biggest webinar of the year so far. We have 153 registered, 37 right now live, and it's definitely the biggest webinar I've ever done. And it blows away the first one I did on Google for Jobs back in the spring. So it sounds like a great topic you're all interested in, and I can't wait to get started. Shout out to the live audience. I see we have about 39 now joining us. Elizabeth, what's up, Chatster? Ryan Douglas is here. Scott, Jessica, I see Claire Petrie. How you doing, Claire? Kelly, I just connected with Kaylee from Kelly Services on LinkedIn. Hey, Kaylee. What's up, Dougie? Dougie Fresh. Hey, Hunter, how you doing? Yeah, definitely. I'm calling you guys RecTechies now. You guys are, that's my nickname for you guys, for the audience. So looking forward to chatting here today. So, all right here. So a couple of show notes before we get started. Let's see here. What do I want to mention here? There is a one-pager guide, and you can download it at the link at the bottom of the webinar. It says a one-page guide, and that will contain basically some bullet points on what I'm talking about today. So you can follow along. There are a bunch of links in there as well. So all the links I'm mentioning in the show, in the webinar, will be in the document. So just click that. It's a Google Drive doc, and you can download it from Google on there from that link itself. Hey, Daniela. Okay. All right. First up, let me just share my screen so we can get rolling here. And I want to remind everybody that in 2 weeks, I'll be doing my last webinar of the year. This will be a paid webinar. So I'm going to be teaching you how to source on social media, specifically on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Those are so it's really designed for entry-level recruiters, young recruiters who want to know more about how to both engage candidates on those platforms and how to source them as well. So we'll go over a bunch of different Boolean techniques, some different tools we can use. We'll do a bunch of live searches on there. It'll be an interactive course. You can ask questions of me as we go through it. But I'll give you kind of the basics of how to source candidates on there on that webinar. So it's $49 per attendee. And if you've never done this stuff before, it's definitely a good primer, I think, and will help you get off to a good start as far as finding more candidates on these other platforms beyond just LinkedIn overall. So again, December 13th, just go to rectechlive.com to sign up, and we'll see you then. And then and I'll be here for the year. Then January 3rd, we come back with our first show of 2019 with Jeremy Roberts from Hiring Solve. I'm going to talk about the future of the modern recruiter. He gave a great talk at HireConf last month, and we're going to kind of revisit that deck he has, because I thought it was a really good way of looking at the recruiting profession itself and where it's going and what you need to do to be successful. All right, so that'll be on January 3rd, and that link is up there on rectechlive.com on our Crowdcast page as well. All right, here. So you got the one-page guide. We're going to start the webinar itself today with Facebook. I pulled it up on my screen here. Hopefully you can see that. Yes, you can. So Facebook has, just to give you some perspective, guys, Facebook has 168 million users in the U.S. alone. Okay. So now I have a job board on the site itself. So if you take maybe say 5%, which is a pretty conservative estimate of the audience in the U.S., you're talking about maybe about 8 million people who are using the Facebook job board today. So that gives you an idea of the size of it. All right. So it's fairly on a, it's not as big as Indeed. Indeed is like 100 million, I think, worldwide, maybe 40 or 50 million US. So it's much smaller than an Indeed, but there is some traffic on there that you can get if you want to use it. So 5%, 8 million people. That's kind of I think a conservative estimate in terms of how many people are using the Facebook job board itself. You can find it at facebook.com/jobs. You can find it in the marketplace as well. And anybody who has a company page on Facebook can post a job into that as well. I pulled up one of my pages here. This is Job Fairing, which is a site that we run at RecTech Media. There are some different areas on the page here where you have access to the job. So number one, to create a job listing, you click over here, and we'll walk through that in a second. You can also manage your jobs or see the jobs that you've posted over here on the left. Thank you, Joanne. And up on top here, they made this change recently, which is the Manage Jobs tab. So if you're looking in terms of where to manage all your data, this is where you go. And so I've got some data in here from some past stuff that we've done. These are some candidates here. The left. Okay. And the applications are over here. So basically what Facebook is giving you is a very basic bare bones ATS to manage your candidates. It's got some features in there in terms of you can put stuff into a workflow, put candidates into a workflow. Here's what that looks like. So if we look at this guy, Kevin here, who's a bartender, here is the application that he sent in for this particular job. It's pretty basic. It pulls off of his Facebook profile itself. And you can do a few things with this page. So you can send him a message through the Facebook Messenger. You can send him an email, and that's going to basically, if you mouse over it, actually will show you his email. So this guy's going to yahoo.com is his email address. And if I click that, it's going to open up my Gmail and start creating the message there for me. I can copy a phone number, which puts it into your clipboard, and I can schedule an interview. I've never done that. I'm not sure what it does, or not sure where it goes. Maybe just as a note somewhere in your Facebook page, but that's what that looks like itself. And I can download this as a PDF. So I can basically download his resume essentially off of Facebook after giving him a certain status. I can check him as a favorite. I can say he's contacted. I can have it scheduled. I can say hired or rejected. So it's sort of like a bare bones ATS, if you will. Danielle is asking, will jobs from your Facebook page automatically go to this jobs page? So yes, when you post a job from your Facebook business page, it automatically goes into the Facebook job board itself. That's how they basically fill the job board, is through the business pages. So yes, Danielle. All right. So those are different things you can do on the candidate side of things. And some people have different data than others. Some have more or less. Generally speaking, the more entry level your job is, the less data you're going to get overall. I did post a couple of recruiting jobs the other day, and I got some pretty good full resumes out of it in terms of the applications I was getting, which I thought was interesting. So I think the more basic the job is, the less they have filled in as the applicant itself. But you can get a sense here for what this looks like. So it's kind of, it's your basic ATS is what it is. There's a couple of rumors going around about the Facebook job board that I'll mention. Number one is supposedly in the first quarter of next year, there's going to be some announcements. One of those announcements might be a candidate matching tool. So just think that you post a job, into the board, and automatically you get back a list of potential applicants, maybe. Right. So that's a rumor that's out there. The other rumor is that there is an ATS integration that might be coming as well. Who knows? I don't know if the ATS portion is for real, because Facebook wants to keep you on the platform. That's why they lock you into all this data here. You can't really export it other than downloading individual profiles like that. So that's their mantra, is they keep you on Facebook. They want to keep that time on site as high as possible. They want you to stay on Facebook and use it as an individual, ATS itself, if you will. So if you do recruit blue collar, entry level, that's the number one type of job that's on Facebook today. I think over time that will slowly increase into the sort of the mid level jobs, maybe some manager positions, particularly in the retail side of things, customer service overall. So I think slowly we'll get there as Facebook grows and gets older. But it's best for entry level and blue collar at the moment. All right, so let's go post a job quickly so you can see how that works. And they made some other announcements recently that are great for increasing the number of views to your jobs on Facebook. And we'll do that after we post a test job here. So I'm going to do a quick test job for you and show you what that looks like. All right, so here's the create a job form. It's a very simple job posting form. I'm just going to write test job here. I'm going to say it's in New York. I'm going to select the salary. Let's say 20 per hour. Test. You get up to 5,000 characters to describe your job. You can also add pre-screening questions in here. So if I wanted to ask, are you qualified in, or how many years do you have in, you can put that in there. Now, as far as applications goes, you have kind of two options. You can leave this area blank by email, and when people apply, they apply to your Facebook Messenger. So you get a little chat pop up saying that this person has applied to your job. In addition to that, you can throw in an email here, and then that will give you an email alert to the job when somebody applies. So if you do want that external email alert, that's definitely useful, and definitely put that in there overall. We'll post this job now. Hopefully it works. Okay. Job is live. Now here's the great thing they just added. They allow you now to take that job, and post it to any of the groups you belong to. So as a recruiter on Facebook, if you're not using Facebook groups, you're missing out on tons of traffic. These are essentially mini job boards inside of the Facebook platform. You can see here the ones I belong to. I probably have at least 200 different job search groups that I belong to. And I can go in and take that job and I'll automatically post it into those groups. All right, so I'll do it for the Cleveland one here. Actually, I won't do that because it's not a Cleveland job. But anyway, you can see what I'm talking about there. It's a really nice feature that will boost the number of views into your listings. Some of these groups have thousands of members. I belong to some that have 20,000 members. Yeah, it works just like Marketplace, Chad. I belong to a Connecticut group that has 10,000 people in it, all around jobs, careers, hiring. You see some keyword searches, you can find those. Join as many as you can, and they can help boost the number of free visitors to your job listing overall. So get out there, use it. It's free traffic. If you're not using it, if you're not doing it, then you're missing out, right? So you can't win if you don't play. And those are the ways that Facebook can definitely help you. So it'll go out to the job board itself, and it'll go into the groups, and it'll help just boost your traffic overall to that listing itself. All right. Now, you can also get alerts as a job seeker through Facebook. Let's just walk through that if we can. I'm going to go to facebook.com/jobs. If a person follows your company on Facebook, follows your Facebook page, Facebook.com. Good job. If you follow a company on Facebook and they post a job, that job will get put into that person's feed as well. Let's see here. If we look at more, here's jobs. And you can sign up. For alerts now. You can also post a job from the Facebook job board itself. Here's the subscribe. So it's kind of like an alert, if you will. And you can just do, it's a very basic job board itself. You can do some keyword searching, change the location, and filter in by the different types of industries. And you can see here, these are kind of the, the basic ones that are, these must be related to my location because there's no retail or anything like that. But these may change dynamically if I'm not mistaken based on your location. But this is what these jobs look like overall. And you can get alerted to these when you do a search and use the Facebook job board. All right. And then I wanted to mention how to get, how to extract candidates out of here. So I'm going to close this out here and go back to my page. So there's a cool tool, and that will let you extract candidate data into kind of a CSV file. That tool is called ZapInfo. I'm not sure if my buddy Doug is on the call, but I'm going to show you how that works because it's a really cool way of bulk exporting these candidates for you into a CSV file. So I happen to have the tool. It's a Chrome extension, and I'm going to go over to my candidates here, and we're going to extract those. So here is the first 10 candidates. Unfortunately, you can't change the number. You say I have 34 total. I'm going to pull up ZapInfo. I'm going to do zap in, extract from page. I believe it is. And here we go. So I can now take these candidates. Sorry about that. I can now take these candidates and export them into a CSV file overall from here. And if I hit enrich, it's going to actually enrich that stuff, and it'll look for other social media profiles, other data that that Zap can find online and add it to that overall. So it's a pretty cheap tool. I think it's maybe about $50 a month, but it's totally worth it in terms of extracting data off pages like this, not just Facebook, but everything else that you're on, LinkedIn, pages that have like, team members listed or events that have people's names on there. It's a great tool to do that overall. So check out ZapInfo. It's zapinfo.io, and check out that tool when you get a chance, because it's the only way I know of getting extracting candidates out of your Facebook page itself overall. So for me, it's if you use Facebook, it's a must-have tool overall. Okay. Any questions on the Facebook job board so far? As I move on to Google next. Okay. So let's talk about Google. So Google for Jobs, actually, let's go over the poll results. I'm not sure if I forgot to mention that. Let me stop sharing my screen for a second. That's cool. We'll just go back to here. We'll go through the poll results later. So Google for Jobs now, it's in most major countries. They just launched in Japan recently in the last few weeks, I think. So it's interesting now that they're in the home of Indeed, the parent company, Recruit Holdings. But they're in places like India, Europe, UK, Latin America, US and Canada, of course. I think they're in South Africa. I'm not sure, but it was hard to find a list of overall countries that we're in. But it's definitely spreading far and wide, and it's coming soon to a country near you if you don't have it yet overall. So Now, the interesting thing about Google for Jobs to me is that right now it is being dominated by the major job boards as far as the listings in there. I just heard on the Chad and Cheese podcast, they had the guy from Jobayak on, and he threw some stats out that said LinkedIn is 20% of the listings, Glassdoor is 15%, and ZipRecruiter is 11% of the listings overall. That's a pretty big chunk of listings coming from a small number of players overall. I think that when Google launched Google for Jobs, they wanted to get as many jobs as possible on it quickly. And the way to do that is by partnering with the big job boards overall. So it's since that time, it's been dominated the listings by those sites. And if you scroll through a search on here, like I'm doing now, you just see CareerBuilder or Glassdoor, LinkedIn over and over again, alongside the other smaller job boards and some of the company sites themselves overall. So the good news is that you can get free traffic from Google Jobs, but the bad news is that it's not going to be a big influx of candidates. It's going to be a small number. And we'll go over some of the data around that with some different sites and stuff that I have overall. So it's not going to replace that free traffic you have from Indeed probably. But as time goes on, it should increase overall as more ATSs and companies get listed individually overall. So that is a trend. I think it's going to start to work its way through the platform itself. So definitely a lot of the jobs on there are coming from the major job boards. And that's where the lion's share of traffic is going right now overall. The ATSs have been way behind getting on Google for Jobs. And I don't know why. I mean, to me, it's like, it's a free way to add value to your clients. And so why aren't you feeding your jobs into there? It doesn't take much. It's not very hard to actually get on Google for Jobs from a technical standpoint. And so if you're an ATS out there, create a feed and index it, get it indexed. That's all you got to do. It's basically just creating a sitemap, getting your job data mapped to the correct data schema on Google, and submitting that sitemap into the Google Search Console, and you'll have traffic overnight pretty much. Working harder on background check partnerships. What does that mean, Chad? Yeah, I know iCIMS is on there. They're partnering with them. So the bigger job ATSs and the newer ATSs, iCIMS, Workable, Smart Recruiters, Lever, they're all on there automatically, I think. Means they're eyes on the TA ball. Yeah. But a lot of these smaller ATSs out there, a lot of the older ones, they just don't get it yet. So sucks for them, but good news for people who are trying to play in that space overall. If you're a staffing agency, we're getting a lot of calls at RecTech from staffing agencies looking to start their own job boards, particularly now that Indeed is throwing them off of organic. And so, for example, I just helped a guy down on Wall Street in New York. He owned the domain name wallstreetcareers.com. So we went and launched a job board for him on that domain name, so he could get access to Google for Jobs. There are actually some platforms, Jobboard.io and Smart Job Board, that are basically job boards in a box. And if you're a staffing firm today, I'm seeing a lot more of you create your own little niche job boards where you can send your candidates to that you can't hire, where you can get on Google Jobs. And it's a channel where you can kind of control your own destiny, if you will, overall. And so I've helped a number of staffing agencies over the years launch their own job boards. I think it's a smart play in terms of just an additional tool for them to send their candidates to build up a community of those people overall. I don't think they make a lot of money with them, but I think it's a good channel for them to use as far as marketing purposes and a place to send candidates they can't hire, and a place to get a channel to get on Google for Jobs itself overall. So if you are interested in that, we do help agencies launch job boards like that on those platforms. We can get a job board for you built within basically a week. So think about that if you are a staffing agency overall. All right, here. So one of the questions I always get is, how do I, where do I find Google Jobs? How do I see my jobs on there? So I did a search here. If you do a search on Google today for jobs near me, that phrase, this is what you get. It automatically pulls up every job in your location according to your Google account overall. So, and a quick note of interest here: jobs near me is the number one term that job seekers search for on Google itself. Right? If you think about it, it's the simplest way to find jobs quickly. Jobs near me, and so they've always had that term being typed in on Google, and now when you do that on Google itself, it brings you to the Google for Jobs listings overall. On here, you can do a number of different things from a job seeker perspective. You can save jobs, which is just these little flags over here. I can save these jobs and they appear in my saved list. You can see that up here. I can get alerts for the search. So basically, I don't have to put my email address in because Google already has it. And so I just check this off. I slide the slider over, and now alerts come to me automatically. And if you do that right now, you should get an alert within a few minutes, actually. They'll send you the first alert pretty quickly. I'm just going to turn this off. And you can manage all your alerts in here as well on this tab over here. This is kind of like a split screen page into three areas. You've got the filters up on top. You've got the pagination of the jobs here on the left. And then on the right, you have the actual job listings. And one thing to know about the listings is that they will list the other job sites that the posting is also found on. So unlike an Indeed, Google will tell you where else this job lives. And so this is on LinkedIn. This happens to be going to iCIMS, and this happens to be going to their career site, but I'm assuming their career site's already powered by iCIMS. So these are probably duplicate links here overall. And that one goes to LinkedIn, and the LinkedIn one probably redirects back to the ATS. So anyway, all right. So that's kind of it from a job seeker's perspective, right? So let's talk about getting on Google for Jobs. So there's a couple ways here. Number one is you must use an applicant tracking system that is already on Google for Jobs. We talked about that: iCIMS, Workable, ZipRecruiter, Lever, those guys, Workable. If they're already on there, then your jobs automatically get fed into Google Jobs automatically without you doing anything. So that's one of the easiest ways to do it. The second way is through a job board. ZipRecruiter is on Google for Jobs. Careerbuilder, or Glassdoor, LinkedIn, all the major job boards are on there, not Indeed. And that's the other way to get into those platforms. That's method number two. The third way is by using some third-party tools or by doing it yourself overall. So if you're like a job board, for instance, you basically you mark up your job description pages so that they comply with the particular data schema that Google requires. And then you create a sitemap XML file of all your jobs, and you feed that into the Google Search Console. It's kind of a separate little webmaster tool they have available. Once you submit that sitemap, you'll start receiving traffic, usually within 24 hours or so. Monster's on there, too, I believe, Brandon. Yep. So, and then there's also some third-party tools, which we'll go over as well. Here is there's a link in the one pager. This is jobs.google.com. If you go to that now, it will tell you from a technical standpoint what you need to do to get listed on Google for Jobs. This may be a relatively new URL, which I was doing my research yesterday. I came across this, and once you get started here, it kind of takes you into the world of all the data stuff, right? So if you're a developer, this is where you go to learn how to mark up your pages, and it gives you all the details you need to know, right? If you're a regular recruiter, this is going to be foreign to you, but if send it over to your tech guy, and they will learn how to get your jobs on here through these instructions overall. So again, jobs.google.com is that URL. All right. Downside to Google for Jobs, companies that job boards are advertising on other job boards. Yeah. Yeah, I know. It's it's something that's like I said, there's multiple ways to find that job today. Job lists are everywhere. Um, I don't think Google has done a perfect job yet of kind of collating all this data and making it easy to find. I do see some duplication here. Like to me, these two links are the same thing. Um, they've got the iSIMS link here, and they've got the career site link. They're both the same thing, though. If you go to it, right? Um, uh, so yeah, there is a little bit of an issue there with that, Colette. Overall, but all right. Let's review some stats, and we'll bring on Mike for a few minutes. Mike Wooder from Career Site Cloud. Here is so if you have Google Analytics installed on your ATS, there's a way you can track this stuff. Job boards can do this too. I'm pulling up some stats here from a job board, and you can see here these are the sources of traffic coming in, and the Google for Jobs is the the second biggest referrer of that traffic overall. And I'm pointing this out because the Google Jobs traffic is the best traffic out there, in my opinion, because of the intent of that person when they do that search. They will stay in your site longer. They will look at more pages. The bounce rate is extremely low. It's 35% for them. So they're not bouncing when they hit the site. They're staying. They're reading the postings, and then they're applying overall. And so it's called Google _jobs_apply. And if you go into all traffic on your analytics under source medium, you'll see that stat. And it's a pretty, it's new. They brought it out in the spring of this year. They launched it. And so it's a great way to track kind of organically what you're getting out of Google Jobs versus the regular organic. So if you look back at the data here, go back, you'll see that Google Jobs Apply is there, but so is Google Jobs Organic already. Google Job Organic is the third biggest referrer of traffic on this site, but the bounce rate is twice as high. It's 72% versus 35%. The number of pages they look at are lesser. The time spent on site is lower overall. So that's why that Google Jobs traffic is so effective. And I've got some stats here from some more stats from my buddies over at Clinch Talent, which is a CRM. That's another way you can get on Google for Jobs. So there are some third-party tools, which we'll talk about. You've got Clinch Talent, which is a CRM, Beamery, those guys. You've got Career Site Cloud, and you got JobBack overall. But I got some stats here from one of Clinch's clients, and let me just kind of show you what they're doing here. Now, it's not a ton of traffic. They're still getting most of their applies. This is for a software company, by the way. They're still getting most of their hires from LinkedIn and Indeed. In the corporate side, it says they have 134 hires overall this year. 35 come from LinkedIn. Let's see here. Indeed brought them 12 hires. Corporate site, 48. But Google for Jobs gave them 5 hires this year. Now that's out of only 60 completed applications and 11 interviews. So this company, software company, had 60 completed applications from Google for Jobs. Out of that, they had 11 interviews. And out of those 11 interviews, 5 people got hired. And that was a completion rate of 8.3%, which blew away everything else in their reports. Indeed was only a couple percentage points overall. So it's I think a really telling stat as far as the quality of traffic that Google for Jobs brings you overall. All right, let's bring Mike on here. Let me stop sharing my screen for a second. Bear with me for a second, folks. Okay, let me invite Mike on. Mike Rougeau is from Aspen Tech Labs, and one of their products is called Career Site Cloud, and it's a career site platform that gets you on Google for Jobs at a pretty low price. Let me just find Mike here. There it is. And he is dialing in from I think Paris, if I'm not mistaken. He's based overseas, and we've got some slides as well. But let's let Mike get on the call here. Overall, there he is. Hey, Mike, can you hear me?
Yeah. Hey, Chris, how are you?
All right, how's it going?
Good. Thanks for having me.
All right, tell everyone where you're calling in from.
I'm sitting at WeWork here in Paris, France. My team sits in Kiev, and I manage the team here from over in Paris for a few years at least.
Nice. All right. Well, I'm going to pull up your slides. You've got some data for us as well, as far as some of that organic traffic coming from Google for Jobs. But let me pull up your slides here and just tell the folks what you do and what Career Site Cloud is. While I pull
So just quickly, so we're Aspen Tech Labs. We're actually next Friday night, we're having our 10-year anniversary party. So we've been around for a little while. We basically have 3 product lines. We have a job board product. We have our Career Site Cloud product, which we're going to talk about. And then we have a job scraping web data management business. We do a ton of, we move a lot of jobs around the web for most of the advertising platforms. We scrape, I think, about 6,500 sites a day globally, and move that jobs content and keep it synced with advertising platforms. It's interesting that the Google for Jobs thing. It's interesting. We have this Career Site Cloud product, but I was at the JobGate conference in London a couple weeks ago, and people were kind of moaning about Google for Jobs. There's not that much traffic, and they're not really that good. Jobs near me. I mean, I'm not interested in. What was that? Was it a massage? That was some kind of physical therapist job or something like that. Why would they think you're a physical therapist? And but my feeling is that they're getting smarter. We help companies get their jobs on Google for Jobs, and we see Google giving higher profile to sites that link directly to a career site. We see higher profile to jobs being posted that the career site's mobile friendly. So not in every case, but I just have great confidence in Google that they're going to figure this out over time. And also the other thing to remember is that's a huge piece of real estate that they're allocating to Google for Jobs. I mean, Chris, bring up that Google for Jobs page again. I mean, there aren't any organic listings there. There's not even any really paid listings there, right? It's Google for Jobs.
Yeah. So Colette in the chat is saying that if you buy AdWords, you may rank higher. I don't know if that's true or not. Have you heard that?
No. Yeah. I don't know.
Theoretically, it makes sense. I'm curious to see if anybody's doing that.
Yeah, and so we've tested some different things, but it's here to stay, and it's free traffic, and we think that they're going to figure out over time. One of the questions that came on the chat was, hey, it's a bad user experience because jobs are going from one site to another. But if you're a corporate recruiter, it's really important to see that, because if you see that ZipRecruiter is pushing you beyond, and then they're going to wherever else, and it's a crappy user experience, you need to get in front of that, and and make sure that your jobs are showing up from your career center. So get your IT people. Chris said it's not that hard to do this. And we've got this product, Career Site Cloud, that we basically, what we do is we duplicate your career center. We can either replace your career center, or we can run a parallel career center right next to your career center. And we push the jobs into Google for Jobs. It happens in a couple of days. And the user can either stop on the career site and land on it, or they can just get passed right through to your existing career site. So it's really just a way to bypass your IT department if for some reason they're not getting their act together, or you're talking about changing your ATS in 6 months or whatever it is. This is a way we grab your jobs, we post them on the career site, push them to Google for Jobs, and it passes right back through to you. That's what this product is.
Does it matter what kind of ATS you have?
Doesn't matter what kind of ATS you have. Any ATS. And you don't have to do anything. You just sign up. It's $99 a month. We don't charge you anything until your jobs start showing up on Google for Jobs. and then it's a month-to-month product. If you know your IT department gets their act together, or you switch your ATS and all of a sudden you're up, there's no reason why you should be up on this site too. Turn it off. The other thing it has a job alert system. So if you don't have that going on your ATS, it's kind of a little advantage, is you could create your own job alert system. Why pay ZipRecruiter for job alerts when you can send them for free to your own community?
Yeah. So this is a product where you can override the ATS career site. Right.
Exactly. You could replace it or run a parallel one next to it. And the parallel one next to it, you can either kind of advertise to it, or you can just push the jobs to Google for Jobs. So here's one for Duke Health that we're showing up here. This is not their main career site. This is just one for Google for Jobs. We grabbed their 1,200 jobs from their ATS, posted on the Career Site Cloud site, and push the jobs to Google for Jobs. And then we have some stats to show you, because everyone's wondering, like, how much traffic, what's happening with this traffic? So we pulled some stats. We've been doing this for, I think this client's been around for 6 months or something like that. So it's fairly mature. Mm-hmm. It takes a little time to get it going. But you see here where Chris was saying it shows up in a couple places. It's got LinkedIn, and then it's Duke Health career. Mm-hmm. So, what would the user do? It depends. I mean, Chris, just go back for 1 second. It depends what the user would do. Would the user be more comfortable applying through LinkedIn because their profile is already set up on LinkedIn or whatever, or would they want to go directly to the career site? So it's up to the user. Sometimes on some of the job postings, you'll see 6 or 7 sites lined up right there. But yeah, that's the way that Google works. And then go ahead, Chris, to the next page.
So this is stats from Uber.
Yeah, so this is Uber's career site, posted through the Google for Jobs example. So in the last month, they got 711, we just grabbed sessions. And you can see the couple of jobs that are there, 40, 24. So it's not a ton of traffic. Chris said this, it isn't. But I think the point is, why not grab it? And we'll see in the next slide, these visitors they're active. They're looking for jobs. They're on Google. Think about that. They're not getting a job alert. They're not, they're active job seekers who have found this job. And if you look, there's 600 in this one. The little numbers are a little different, but similar month period. 617 users, 536 click through the apply. It's a high click-through rate. So because I think they've already seen this job on Google for Jobs, there's enough of it there that shows up on it. So when they click through to the site, you've already screened some of the people. The people who aren't interested have already dropped. They're not going to click through. So you get a high rate of people who are clicking through. Go ahead, Chris. Sorry.
No, I think that any job board has the best traffic. I mean, for instance, those job boards have the intent to look for a job. So I think any job board, like a Google Organic or another kind of referrer, they're not coming in from a job search query. They're not going to be as valuable as a traffic overall, because their intent is to go find a job. They're more likely to apply to a job if they come from a job board, whether it's Google Jobs or some other site. Overall, I think it's a rule of thumb to think about.
Yeah, I mean, I think another thing to think about for people who are listening is most of these people are doing this on a mobile device. So, I mean, the mobile traffic is just massive. And so you got to be ready on your end to deal with that person. So hopefully you are with your ATS. If you're not, Career Site Cloud has a quick mobile apply. Think about building a talent community. Think about doing something. Get that candidate information from them before they drop.
Yep.
Don't ask them. If you go to Duke and you click through, even if you're a bus driver, they're asking you like 50 questions. It's crazy. They're losing a lot of those people. Yep. So figure out, remember, these people everyone's mobile. This is mobile. Just one more thing to show here. So this is Minnesota IT Services, U.S. government or a state government agency. So instead of us hosting their career site, we've done an iframe and we popped their jobs into their page. So if you look kind of at the middle bottom there, that's an iframe of the jobs, and then that still allows we can still from there push those jobs to Google for Jobs and get them traffic that way. So it's another way if you really want to keep your one career site, you don't want to have a parallel site. This is another way to do it if you've got the capability to put an iframe on your career site page. So I just wanted to show you that. That's it.
Yeah.
if you're having trouble getting on Google for Jobs and the link that Chris sent you isn't enough for you, just shoot me an email. We've got a PDF and a few other things that would help people figure it out on their own. So happy to help you.
Cool. Appreciate that, Mike. Give me a second here. And it's cursed.cloud.com, right?
Right.
All right, perfect.
Got it.
Cool. Well, thanks for coming out, and appreciate the sponsor today. And feel free to follow up with our attendees, and we'll see you soon.
Sure. Yep. All right. Thanks, Chris.
Take care, Mike. All right. So I've got a few more things to cover before we end the show. We're going to talk about optimization a little bit. I do want to show you Jobiac as well. That's a new platform out there that let me just pull up the URL. It just came out. It's called jobiac.ai. There's a link in your guide there. And it's a pretty cheap way of getting on Google for Jobs. There's actually a free way of using it as well. Basically, you can start out with 3 jobs for free. And basically, you just go in and you paste a job URL. So take one of your job links, put that URL in here to get started with getting onto Google for Jobs. So it just came out in the last couple of months. It's a pretty cheap way to get on Google for Jobs, and they have different packages overall that you can take advantage of. And supposedly they're coming out with more services beyond Google for Jobs. So definitely a tool to keep track of and see what's going on with these guys over time. So I want to mention that as well. Okay. The last thing we'll talk about is kind of the optimization, and there are some things you can do to optimize your stuff for Google for Jobs. It's not a ton. It's not going to change the game, I think. But number one is salaries, and that's something that I think most companies dread doing overall. But if you put your salary on Google for Jobs, you will rank higher in the listings overall. So I think maybe 10% of the jobs have a salary on there. You can see some of them here listed in terms of the hourly stuff. Particularly if it's hourly, you should definitely have it on there. If it's a professional job and it's a salary position, at least put a range maybe. But salary is something that more ATSs are letting you put on, and something that Google really wants you to put on there. So they're really driving it overall. The second thing is street address. Okay. And they want the street address because they want to help people look at commute times overall. So I think the problem with that is that most ATSs don't have a feel for street addresses. So it could be something that only the newer ones have going through it overall. So if you don't have a street address or don't have a place to put that in your ATS, then there's nothing much you can do about that. But street address is another field you can add to it overall. You can add your logo to your jobs. Now it's usually pulled through the data schema. You can see here that like in Career Builder, it's pulling in it. So Career Builder is correctly telling Google where the file is for that logo overall. In some cases, you may not see it, like over here on Sitter City, or here at Covel and Careers, right? They're just using a V. It's just a generic kind of icon, if you will, overall. So there is a way to get your logo listed. The job site usually pulls that in automatically. If it's an ATS, you'll have to ask them if they're pulling in your logo correctly or not, because there is a particular field for that in the data schema that you send to Google overall. Keep your job titles succinct, no acronyms, no insider terms overall. Spell it out, tell it, kind of dumb it down for the job seeker and the search overall. One thing you could try is posting different job titles and doing some A/B testing and see what kind of results you get with that overall. If you want to play with trying to optimize a bit, you can kind of do some testing there on if you call it sales rep or sales account executive, I don't know. Try some variations on that. Maybe be able to see if it ranks higher at all through some of this stuff. If you do want to see where your jobs are, you do a search on Google for jobs, and there is an employer tab here, which kind of lists a lot of the employers. You can also type in a Google search like, company name, jobs at the end, and it should pull up should pull up listings around that as well. Let's see. Also, make sure you take your jobs down once they're filled. Google hates expired listings, and it's something that happens a lot in ATSs because, let's face it, a lot of recruiters out there forget or wait too long to go back and close that job once it is filled. And so that's kind of a problem that exists on any aggregator, not just at Google, but Indeed has it. ZipRecruiter has it. So there's a lot of kind of dead job links out there as a job seeker that you run into these days. And that's because the jobs are being pulled from the ATS, but the people on the ATS are not taking that job down quickly enough overall. So pay a little more attention to the speediness of your closings of your jobs. And I think that should help as well. You don't want to get dinged maybe from Google because you have too many expired jobs in your listings at some point. That could happen. I haven't heard of it yet, but something to think about as you go forward with your Google job stuff. All right. That's basically it. So I'm going to take a look at the poll here and let's see what we can find out. Let's go over this poll here. So 27% just on Google Jobs, 22% just on Facebook, 18% use both, 31% use neither. So neither is the winner today. That's interesting. All right. Any questions here? You guys want to talk about anything else? We got a couple minutes left, but that's what I got. I hope you learned something overall, and happy to take any further questions here. You're welcome, Colette. Thanks for coming on. All right, Colette, are you doing AdWords? Welcome, Daniela. What kind of spend do you put on? As soon as the show's over, you can watch the replay on the same link, so you can watch the replay again overall. You're welcome, Joey. You're welcome, Stephanie. And don't forget December 13th, social media sourcing. If you want to learn how to do that, $49, and I will see you there. So Colette says it varies depending on the role. Daily spend 50 to 200. Yeah. Nora's got a question. If I understand it well, Google for Jobs is centralizing your job opportunities, giving traffic and tracking. Yeah, it's another source to get job seeker traffic from, Nora. The tracking part of it, you have to basically, you can only see that from either your ATS collects that data, or if you have Google Analytics installed on your ATS under a specific domain name like careers.yourcompanyname.com, you can then put Google Analytics on there because it's a standalone domain you own, and you can then see the traffic coming in overall. So if you have a webmaster, if you have a career site like that, go look at putting specifically Google Analytics onto that site so you can then see the actual organic traffic from Google Jobs. But it's a separate kind of plugin you need to put on there. They give you a little piece of code. You put that code on all your pages, and that becomes Google Analytics for your site, whatever site that is overall. So ask your IT department if you do have that, or ask your ATS if that's possible. Put it on there. G Suite, you have G Suite, and the tool is Google Hire. Yeah, Google Hire is the ATS from Google, and from what I know, I don't think Google Hire's jobs that are posted there are on Google for Jobs. At least it wasn't in the beginning. So That may have changed, but Google hires their ATS. It's totally separate from Google for Jobs, as far as I know today. Overall, you would think that they would automatically include any G Suite users' jobs on Google for Jobs, but maybe it's coming at some point. So, and thanks for those numbers, Colette. I think you're right. I think it's if you were spending money boosting a job on like a Facebook, I've heard it anywhere from $300 to $500 as far as generating enough candidates to lead to a hire on there. So 50 to 200 is also reasonable depending on the job. So appreciate those appreciate those numbers. Good. All right, guys. I will see you on the 13th, and if not, again, January 3rd will be the next free webinar on the future of modern recruiting. I hope you all have a great Christmas, holiday, happy Hanukkah, and New Year. And we'll see you in 2019. All right, Stephanie. Hey, Claire. You're welcome. Good to see you. All right, Babu. All right, well, that's it. I'm going to sign off, and we'll have some lunch. So see you next time, guys.